tell people I'm working at my future home.
Since you asked so nicely, let me do the
I didn't know it was there. I didn't see it.
Okay, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and those that are not sure, welcome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. I'd like to say it was cold out when you came in for the walk, but it's actually not too bad actually. We're pretty blessed. For those that don't know, I'm Dave Rockwell-Jenner. This is the other Rockwell-Jenner. Linda, give us a wave.
Hi, I'm a social skills.
Oh, there you go. Way better than my brand. Maybe we can talk about brand. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming along. We really appreciate it. For all those returning faces, welcome back. For all those that are new faces, welcome along. We hope you have a great day. Okay, we will get things kicked off as always with the return of Gunther Kramer and our business power-up session. He's actually here live this month. Yes, not the video version. We're not going to be walking in the snow. Although I understand that is now a popular pastime that people are requesting. So without further ado, Gunther, if we can hand it over to you. Take it away, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, full house again, that's fantastic. A lot of new faces. So yeah, as Steve was alluding to, Maxine and I were both not here last time, so I just did a little video and put it up there. And you know, we're down in Mexico at a friend's wedding, and you guys were here fighting in some snow. We wanted to take all of you guys along, but Dave and Linda said you couldn't afford it, so we'll try to get next year. So my name again is Gunther Kramer. Back in '95, I founded a company, Get the Websites, where we do website development, digital marketing, social media, all that sort of fun stuff. And today I'm going to be talking about search engine optimization, SEO. Now before you groan, because I know everybody's heard about this over and over and over again, it is an older topic in my industry, but I thought I'd revive it a little bit and tell you some of the new things that are coming out that maybe you're not quite aware of. And this is part of the Power Up series that we're doing, where every month I'm taking the first 15 minutes or so and just talking to all of you guys about different things for business that can maybe help you take your business wherever it's at and move it up maybe a notch or two. So that's my goal. So, overlooked SEO components. These are the things I want to talk about. These are the following 5 slides. I want to talk about knowledge panels. Some of you might not be aware of what the terminology, but we'll get to that. Talk about the importance of content, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. Different focus points, tools to analyze and compare, and then what can you do on your own and what should you maybe to help you. Okay, knowledge panels. So as you can see here, it's a little bit small. So when you're doing a search on Google, you see on the right side here, this is what we call a knowledge panel. And you'll see that a lot, whether it's for companies or organizations. In this case, this is for the city of Waterloo. And you see they have like pictures, a map. And if you were to see it lower down, there would be other components as well, which I've listed here on the left side. So there's a lot of contact information. But they're also providing things like Google reviews. There might be showing what reviews you've got, your star ratings you've gotten on Facebook. They'll show links to your other social media accounts, that sort of thing. And so what you want to do nowadays is you really want to make sure that you have this set up. Now the best way to do that is you go to Google, you have a Google account set up for your business, and you create a business page. And that is where you put in all the information. put in your opening hours, everything else. So who cares, gone to Google, you're looking for, let's say, a restaurant or whatever, you want to know, what are their opening hours? How late are they open to, right? Who's done something like that before, right? You've used it in here, right? Yeah, hands up, yeah. Okay, so you guys know what I'm talking about. The other nice thing about it is that Google's been really proactive. So for example, let's say the holiday season is coming up. It might be Easter or Christmas or whatever the case is. As a business owner, you'll get an email from them and they'll say, hey, just a little nudge here. Do you want to maybe go back to your Google business page and update your business hours for the holiday season? Because if you're taking a few days off or you're shutting down, you want to make sure that people are going to see that. The other thing that I want to point out here as well is you'll see we've got these 3 panels at the top. So it's hard to read here, but it says top stories. So this is something that Google has been implementing more and more as well. So they're starting to fill up even the left side with a lot of information that wasn't there before. And then underneath of that, usually you get the first few are ads. So by the time you're getting to the organic search results, or the ones that have naturally percolated to the top, they're going to see now down here lower and lower and lower. So if you're getting on the first page, or the first position even on Google, you're still way down here below the fold, as we call it, where people have to scroll to actually see it. So it's becoming more and more important to try to get up into the panels here, getting up into top stories, things of that nature. So search is taking a really different approach now. A lot of the old stuff is still valid and valuable, but this is some of the new stuff that's been going on in the last while. So content. For a lot of you, this might be a lot of repetitiveness, so I'll go over it a little quickly. One of the key things is when you're writing content for your website or blog articles or whatever it is that you're writing for, make sure that you're writing for people and not robots. Now, having said that, you do want to take a balanced approach. So it's a bit of a catch-22. If you write your content for the robots, in other words, for the Google search algorithms, and what happens is you start to make it sound a little bit unnatural. You're just trying to put in too many keywords and things of that nature. So the robots like it because you start to rank higher and then people can find your article, but then when they start reading it, they're like, this just isn't a good article. It's not well written. And so then they leave. So you got their attention, but you didn't get them to continue on and conduct business with you. On the flip side, you write really great content for people, but if you're not doing any SEO at all, chances are people are not going to find it. So you've written great content, but it's lost out there. So you want to find that healthy balance between the two. There's a lot of software programs out there that you can use that will help you when you're writing your content, where it'll tell you, oh, you need to put in a few more keywords, or you need to rewrite this paragraph because it's written in a difficult to read way, or things like that. And people sometimes get too caught up in that, and they're trying to make sure that they get all the check boxes off. Instead of that, just make sure that you've got a good, healthy balance between the two. The second point is interesting. So you take the average website that is listed on the first page of Google, and those pages have on average 1,900 words. Now, just to give you an idea of what that is, a typewritten page, I'm just giving away my age because I'm saying what a typewriter is, but a typewritten page, okay, going by the last, not the only one, that's good, I feel better now, is about 500 words. So you're looking at about a 4-page, well, it's almost an essay at this point, really. So what I do see a lot of is people are, all proud, they're saying, yeah, I'm doing stuff with SEO and I'm writing blog articles one after another. And I always ask, well, how long is your blog article typically? And they don't know word counts. I say, well, let's take a look at it, and you take a look. And usually you got a couple paragraphs. They might only have 200, 300, 400 words. If you're under 300 words, typically the rule is Google won't even bother looking at you. So people say, okay, well, at least get 300. And that still isn't going to get you very far. We've been advising our clients for a number of years, try to get up to at least 1,000 or 1,500 words. Well, now we're looking like it's progressing even more so, and we're up to about 2,000 words. So now you're really going to have to write good content, and that's what Google is wanting. They want to put up sites that people can find that has a lot of really good content. And you can't do that in just 3 paragraphs. Images and videos, I can talk about that a lot. With videos, just remember you create a great video, you're putting up there, whether it's on YouTube, on your website, or anywhere else. Google has no way of figuring out what is the video about. So make sure the file name is descriptive, make sure you've got all kinds of tags in there as well so that it's telling the search engine what this video is about. Another thing you can do, let's say on your website, you might have a video, and then below it, beside it, whatever, have a transcript of the video if you can. This does 2 things. One is now Google can index it, they can read that transcript and they know what it's all about. But a lot of people sometimes say, yeah, you know what, I'd rather read through it. I don't want to watch the video. So you're kind of working on both ends. So if you're doing video, that's something to keep in mind. Images, similar, make sure you're changing the file name so it's not like image_123.jpg. Make it something descriptive. Make sure you have your company name in there, what the image is about, make sure that, that it all matches. The other thing too is make sure you're downsizing your images, so the pixels, you don't need a picture on it that's 4,000 pixels wide. You can scale it down quite a bit so that it loads quicker. And speed is very, very important nowadays. Focus points, mobile design needs to be taken into consideration first. So right now in most industries, over 50% of website usage is actually done on a mobile device. So the fact that you should have a mobile functioning website, that's been standard for many, many years now. If you don't, come and see me. Okay, we need to talk. And so mobile is very, very important, but Google is really giving that a lot more importance. So when they're trying to figure out where your website should rank in the search engines, then they're saying, okay, how does this look in mobile? And they're taking things into consideration. For example, let's say you have buttons on it that people can push on the screen. If your buttons are too small or they're too close together where you might accidentally hit the wrong button, Google will tell you that in its review. So it's looking at all kinds of things, not just keywords and that typical thing that we're used to. Page load time is a real big thing. You want to make sure your site loads quickly. That's something that's become very, very important, and actually a lot of pages are now being penalized because they never really worried too much about their load time. One of the things, if you analyze your site and your load time is too long, usually it's because your site is linked in with a lot of third-party software tools. So it could be like, for example, ironically enough, Google Analytics. So you're tied into Google Analytics, so it takes your page a little bit longer to load, and then Google looks at it and says, oh, your page takes too long to load, so we're going to knock you down a bit. But there's also a lot of other tools as well that can slow it down. The third one is an XML sitemap. Who here has heard the term? Who here knows what it is? Who here would be willing to stand up and explain? I would ask. Okay, good. Just to get an idea. So a sitemap, you might know of a different sense where you go to a website, and usually somewhere down in the footer or whatever, they'll have a sitemap you can click on, and then it shows you all the pages that that website has. And it might even show you how they're grouped underneath of each other with subsections and sub-subsections. This is along those lines, but it's done for the Google search algorithms. So it's a little file. Usually your website will be set up so that this file is generated automatically in your website. And then Google will revisit it every now and then. It'll look for that file name. And then it'll know exactly, oh, these are all the pages. This is how they're all interlinked and so on. It has all the information. So you want to make sure that you have that set up as well. So here are some tools where you can actually check your own website. So if you want to make some quick notes and just write these down, yes, if you type those search terms in Google, they will get you to the right spot. So the first one is Page Speed Insights. As the name implies, it's going to take a look at your website and see how quickly it loads. But what's really cool is it doesn't just say, oh, it takes your site, whatever, 5.4 seconds to load. It tells you what components are taking how long. And what that does for you is you can then go in and make changes to your site or bring that information to your website developer and say, here, can you explain this? Can we see what we can do to speed this up and take some shortcuts? The next one is Google Mobile Friendly Test. Again, as I was talking about earlier, it's going to take a look at your site from a mobile point of view. And the same thing is going to give you a lot of information as to what you need to do there to make your site work a little bit better. The next one is Google Structured Data Testing. And that is a tool that is, let's see, the best way to explain it is before, in the older days, we had keywords. We had all these different meta tags, meta description tags, and that sort of thing. This is kind of like that, but on steroids. It's much more powerful. There's tons of points. So for example, it's code that can be entered into your site so that Google knows a lot more about your organization. So it could be, what's the business name? What's the address? What are the opening hours? What industry is it in? All these types of things, and that's coded right into the website. So that's one way that Google, and I always say Google, Bing, Yahoo, all those count as well. I typically say Google like most guys do because they're by far the biggest one. But that's another tool that you can use to see if that is set up for your site. And if it is, what's all the information that's in there? Be careful, maybe something is in there, but it's outdated as well. So do it yourself or hire help. Well, we're all business entrepreneurs here. I think we all know the answer to that one pretty much. We get that all the time where somebody says, yeah, I really like your services and everything, but I don't want to spend the money, I'm going to try to do it myself. Well, we know that we can't all do everything ourselves. We can't be perfect at being an accountant and a marketer and everything else all at the same time, so yeah, it makes sense to go and hire help. So some of the things to consider, search is a fast-paced industry. It's constantly changing. There's always new tools coming out. There's new things that they're measuring by. For those of you that might follow a little bit of tech news, You'll always hear about all these new types of Google algorithms that are coming out. There's also hundreds of points to understand and consider. So, for example, you might find a free tool online, or maybe even a paid tool, where it'll analyze your website, and it'll give you a big, long laundry list of all kinds of points that it's checked. And it'll tell you what you've done well or what needs improvement. Well, a lot of times you look at that list and you say, okay, but it's saying this part of my website needs work. But what does that really mean? Or maybe that particular tool is just misinterpreting that data. So you can say, well, yeah, it's saying this part needs to be improved, but I know in reality it doesn't need to be improved. It's okay the way it is. It's just the way that the software is set up. So those are things that usually somebody who's been in this industry for many years, they're a professional in that field, they'll be able to decipher that a little bit easier. Also, the next one, the best analytical tools are usually fairly complex, and they're also expensive. So it really comes down to, how much do you want to sit down and learn all these complexities and do it on your own, or just hire somebody to take care of it. And I think that can be said of really any industry as well. I love accounting. I have a banking background. To be honest with you, I don't want to do my own accounting. It's just something where I know I can spend more time being efficient in my industry as opposed to something else. So I think I'm preaching to the converted on that part. So that's basically it for me for our 5 points. Again, it's get the websites. Anybody have any questions or comments or maybe stories in regards to SEO that maybe something you've gone through in the past? Yes?
How many pages on your website would be noticeable by Google?
Really, doesn't really matter. You can have as many or as few as you want. The more pages you have, typically, the more content you have, which means there are more pages for Google to index and then list on the search results, which means there's a better chance for people to find you. So, for example, if I were to have a website with just 2, 3, 4 pages, well, there's only 2, 3, 4 pages out there for people to find. But if I have maybe 100 blog articles that I've written over time, well, now there's an additional 100 articles out there that people can find to get find my services as well. So in my case, I might, for example, write an article about domain names, another one about hosting, another one about SEO. So if somebody's searching on any one of those topics, there's a chance that you're going to come across my article, click on it, get to my website, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get to know each other and do some business together. So roughly the answer is the more you have, the better for marketing purposes, but for Google to get to see you and notice you, you can have just one, really. Yes?
You mentioned about how more and more people are using mobile devices for SEO. Isn't 90 words a lot of words to kind of scroll through on a phone? Is that going to work against you in the long run? Or?
That's a very good point, you're right, and especially I find nowadays people want to read less and less. We just see pictures, we want to see video, just give me a quick 30-second video, and I've got the gist of it. That's what a lot of people are looking at. At the end of the day, we can't argue with results. When you're looking at the average page that is on the first page of Google, and if it has on average 1,800 words, those are the results. So obviously that's working. Now in regards to the search engines, that's great. In other words, writing for the robots, what about people? Because you're right, on a little mobile device, reading through 2,000 words is a lot of scrolling. So what I always advise my clients is I say, just break it down a little. So for example, the top section, which might be just a fraction of your article, basically summarizes what your whole article is about. So it's like the short version. And then after that is where you can get into the fine print, all the details, and so on. That works for people too, because some people, they say, you know what, just give me the gist of it. I just want to read a couple paragraphs, that's good enough for me. Other people, they want to know every little detail. So they'll read right down to the very bottom. So it works for the search engines, it works for different types of people. Yes?
With regards to accessibility, is there a recommended number of ways to make your website accessible? Like whether it's just font size or reading text or...
Yes, all the above and more, absolutely. Okay. There are hundreds and hundreds of points that Google alone is looking at in regards to how they're trying to measure your website, and what how they're looking at those things and how they're weighing the importance of each of those items is constantly changing. So that's something where, as website developers and designers and so on, we're always trying to be on top of things. The difficulty that we have is that Google doesn't tell us what their secret sauce is. So there's a lot of guesswork involved. Now, some of the things Google outright tells us. Some of the things they kind of allude to, and we're kind of having to read between the lines. And some things we just outright don't know, and through trial and error, doing A/B testing, we start to figure out what seems to work better than other things. Okay.
One more
What's the last one?
question.
Sure, go ahead. Yep.
Oh, okay. What about tags? Is there like, if you do a blog post, is there like an optimum number of tags that you usually put in a blog post?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, you do want to, like, if you're thinking of WordPress, for example, you have a section in the side with categories and tags and all that. Yeah, absolutely use that. fill that in. It just gives Google a little bit more information of what the content is about on that page. So that's very important. So before I go, I do have one thing that I want to do. We do have the prize here. This is now from last month, so this is a nice travel bag. Remember I was talking about work-life balance? No, we got wheels on there, you got an extendable handle and all that. It actually apparently works for carry-on as well, which is nice. So, as many of you know that were here last month, I wasn't here, I was in Mexico at a friend's wedding, so I felt that I didn't want to miss doing my presentation, so I pre-recorded it on video, and it was all about being in the snow and traveling and work-life balance, so I thought this would be a nice gift to give away. And my question was, at the very end, as I said, where am I filming this? Where was that filmed? So who here knows? Elmira. Who here says it was Elmira? Who here says it was somewhere else? Wow, okay. Well, it was Elmira. So you guys were really good, and I had some interesting comments. People were telling me, oh, I recognized it when I saw such and such a building in the background. So it was a little fun. I wish I could have been here just to watch you guys get excited. But it was funny because I don't think my video was even over yet, and all of a sudden my phone started to go bing, 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 bing. I wanted to be the first one to get that answer. So and I'm telling you, it was really close. I think we were looking about seconds apart. And at the end of the day, Todd, you won the gift. So.
I'm going to Regina.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, what was that?
Are we ready? This is the boring big side story.
I feel like this is going to be
After this,
anticlimactic.
we can have coffee.
We get the great pleasure of our presence. Okay, well, thank you very much, Gunther. Excellent. Always fascinating to learn what is going on in Gunther's brain. I think we just get a little glimpse of the many things that he knows through these power-up sessions, and there is not a single one that goes by when we don't learn something. So thank you very much. Okay, we need to say some thank yous.
Oh yes, and this is me tonight. I'm going to say thank you to everybody. As you can see, we've changed the slide to pictures. It's boring with lots of names. So we want to I want to say thank you to Steve Bentley, Mr. Steve Bentley, who's sitting here tonight in Northern River Financial, because Steve's been a sponsor for a couple of years, and we do the SBCN Live TV. Steve, thank you. I just want to say thank you to Gunther, Gecko website, and beautiful children's life for the project manager. Project manager, congratulations, Maxine. As you can guess, Gunther sponsors this session. It's absolutely amazing. Congratulations. And then we have the wonderful, English. I don't know. English, thank you. Rematch, goal.
Solid goal.
Goal.
I need a glass of wine in that.
And basically, somebody will win the door prize tonight, and Ian very kindly asked X amount of years. Thank you for donating the door prize. And then we have Gary Stevens, one of our ambassadors, who agreed to do all of the door. But he has left now to do some work from home, and he'll be working tomorrow, so we thought we were going to escape. We never let a crowd further escape during the train.
No, never.
I think you want to say something, don't you, about your
I do.
links and sponsors?
Oh,
You
you
have to come here.
want me to come?
Reminding.
But Craig does such a lot of work for us, it's one of our long-term ambassadors.
Sure, yeah. I've got my yearly golden fundraiser for Hockey Helps the Homeless. Basically, I got a bunch of sheets out on the table out there, so you can have a look later once the presentation's done. But yeah, I'm looking for teams and sponsors. Basically, the team consists of 48 bowlers. Come out and have a good time, but you just have to fundraise money before the event. So yeah, May the 16th, and I've got Mike as my MC again this year, so thanks for that. Yeah, it's a fun night. Last year we raised $13,000, and so hopefully this year we can do more.
And then we have Miss Janet Benedict, who I've been. Janet has just taken on the role. Do you want to pop over here, Janet? Yeah, I'm popping. Janet, just fly Janet's taken on an ambassador and volunteer role as, well, I'll let you introduce yourself, Janet. You do have a slide, don't
We do.
we? We do?
It looks
No,
like
we don't.
that.
No, it is. All right. Are you saying thank you? No. Oh, you're saying, well, yeah, thank you. Janet's amazing. Janet's the second or third longest member state.
Third.
Sorry. We have an argument over it. It's been many, many years. 9 or 10 years.
She's the first lady.
Yes, you're the first.
There we go.
And thank you for taking on this role, Janet. I appreciate it.
So what our thank you is all about is our new people who come, many of them recommended by other SBCN members. And as most of you know, we do have a thank you gift that we give when you do recommend or refer a new member, and that's a check for $25. But you have to be a member to refer to get that check. Okay? So I don't believe we have any checks to hand out tonight, but we do have some new members. Actually, since our last meeting, there's been 5 new members added. Yeah, SBCN, Linda, they've been very busy. And I do know some of them here. We've got Victoria, who's with Homewood Suites. So welcome, this is her first meeting. It's good to have you here. And right behind, no, well, not right behind, that's Mike. Is Pia Reese. Pia is a financial advisor, and I've known Pia for many years. And are you Melissa? No, we didn't meet earlier, but Melissa, now tell me if I do this right, because I was practicing. Papuano? All right. Okay, who is with the elite team, so welcome to her. And Guidon, Gehan.
Yes.
Gehan, you are about to become a member.
Yes.
All right.
I'm waiting for the high priestess. Okay.
Okay. Did you bring your checkbook? If not. And just one other person, Diana Strickland, I don't believe she's here, but she has a great mobile spa, which will be exciting. So my job is to introduce them and to welcome them to each meeting. So that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. Okay,
Thank you, Jackie.
Indeed, all right. We have one more thank you. We have one more right at the bottom, but by no means. We would like to say a big thank you to Waterloo Region Small Business Centre, who are hosting us again this evening. Rob, would you like to come and say a few words?
No.
Come
on.
I've got no photos, so.
We're working.
All right, welcome again. For those of you that are new, great that you joined and look forward to seeing you on a regular basis. My name is Rob Smith. I am a business advisor at the Small Business Center, which is where we all are. For those of you that have not been into the office here before, we are a government-sponsored organization that is set up to assist people in all stages of business development. From here, becoming to be an entrepreneur, all the way through to I'm doing this, I'd like to go now. None of you are in that name, I'm sure, but occasionally it happens. So we do run the gamut, specializing mostly in startup, mostly in early stage development. But as a result of that, we do develop programs for growth and for expansion as well. We also run a number of programs which we require mentors for. So if you're interested in giving back, there's a number of people in this group that work as mentors already, including Gunther and Janet and already, and Steve over there. And if I'm missing someone else, I'm sorry, but
You always miss me.
you know, you do a great job coming out and doing presentations for our classes and for our students.
Thank you.
And everybody we've programmed that is fantastic with that. But you won't commit to regular mentoring.
Because
There you go. All right. Fair enough, Dave.
Looks like I've been thrown under the bus.
Anyway, thanks. This has been a great partnership. We've been doing it for a number of years, and it's always a good time. Won't always be me that comes out and does this with you, but I do like coming out when I can, and enjoy the event tonight. You got Mark Farwell tonight, so it should be a great show. I've been really avoiding asking for autographs. Like that, you know, the fanboy, but you know. Afterwards.
Thank you.
All right, have a great night, guys.
Excellent, thank you, Rob.
Right.
And last but by no means least, we also want to thank our corporate sponsors, TELUS. They certainly help us do what we do, and also our event sponsor for this and all of our networking events, Adam Smith, with my IT guy.
Has been a member since day one.
Pretty much for the longest time. All right, would you like to talk about this?
I would. Steve, do you want to talk about this? Go on, you talk about it.
Well, I don't know if you know, Lynn and I have done a lot of podcasts, and thought we'd change it up this year, and we actually are doing a live stream on YouTube every 2 weeks on the Tuesday, usually the week, may vary in the scheduling, but we take questions both before a show, during the show, and we answer them live. So we take questions online too, so if you're curious about it, the website is there. You can find our schedule, and we'll be up in about another week for another episode.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.
I'm getting to do nothing.
I know, right? This delegation thing's working out well for you. Okay, this we've done, so
This
time
is
for
the
everyone else to
best
participate.
bit. Now, we're not going to introduce you because you're going to be.
That's right, so we're going to go pretty quick because we have a fairly busy room, but if you could just briefly tell us. Okay, so just briefly tell us your name, the name of your business, and just something that makes you stand out. So think about your personal brand, what makes you stand out, and just share that with us. And maybe we will start with Gunther, if you want to get us kicked off, sir.
All right, that's fine here. So, Gunther Kramer, Gecko Websites. I would say especially for my industry, most guys are doing their work and meeting with clients in hoodies and jeans, and I take a different approach. Now we say once they start wearing three-piece suits, then I'll start to wear hoodies and jeans.
My name is Maxine Chance, and I'm the new project manager at Gecko Websites. As Linda mentioned, I'm there now full-time, left the corporate world and jumped for the Gecko life. What makes me stand out is my license plate. I'm the Gecko gal. I am known throughout town for maybe driving a little fast, but that's me. I'm in the white, he's in the black, so my car makes me stand out.
Hi, I'm Steve Orr from Uptown Printing, and I guess what stands out for me is maybe the fact that I'm short.
Hi everybody, Ealing goes with our broker with Remax Solid Gold and Wood Group, and I've been selling real estate in the KW area for 37 years.
Hi, I'm Tammy Dixon, and I'm an independent director with 31 Gifts, and what makes me stand out, I say I'm not standing Tammy. I like to have real relationships with people and just get to know them, and
Janet Benedict, the Canadian networker. What makes me stand out is I'm really passionate about connecting people, and I do a lot of it, and am well known in the area for that. Thank you.
Chris Morris with Legal Shield. What makes us stand out is we provide affordable lawyers, which is sort of an oxymoron.
Holly Parsons with Verve Electric, and I'd say what makes me stand out is my really quick response time, because if you don't get an email back right away, I assume I'm dead.
Nathan Parsons with Verve Electric, full service electrical contractor serving the Tri-City and surrounding area, and something that stands out about me is I wear shorts all year round.
Not related to the shorts, I think.
All year.
That's good score.
Okay, I didn't know if we were going. Gordon Cook, I'm with Vibranium Solutions. I do IT security consulting for medium-sized companies, and I've got 30 years of experience in IT, so I think that's what makes me stand out.
All right, brilliant.
I'm Heather Cook with Positive Choices Nutrition Coaching. I've been doing it now for less than a year, but what makes me stand out is that I love to empower women to help them find their inner strength and confidence.
Patrick Remler with Bread and Light Realty. I used to be a commercial plumber, and I also renovate houses for my clients, again, top dollar.
Gihan Salgaru, Prime America. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is the attention to detail. So having said that, I'm going to share a little poem with you.
Your professional journey takes you to your field. If you don't play your field, maybe you will win. If you don't play your field, it is not the same. 30 minutes with me, and you will have a field with.
All right. I think that's a first. We've never had Very good.
I'm Mr. Revlar, Red White Realty, realtor done by SBCN Revlar. We are a wave team that fixes renovate houses. We also like to connect our clients with any of the services that we need, whether it be tradespeople, social events, different, anything regarding their house, outside their house. We can have a one-stop shop and people.
And you show a lot in the state.
Short month. And that's it.
Todd Foster with the Mortgage Center, award-winning mortgage agent here in Kitchener-Waterloo and Cambridge. What makes me stand out is I'm Linda's favorite.
That's all right, just give it 10 minutes. You realize it cost me $25.
Okay, guys.
I'm also Papiano, personal trainer. What makes us stand out is that the training facility is a non-judgment gym. No matter your fitness level or anything, we will create a program for you.
Dorothy Sinding from the Elite Training Facility. I'm the official owner with my husband Clint. My other big role there is I'm a massage therapist when I'm not trying to run the place. And I think what really makes us stand out is that we're not just a gym, we really focus on overall health and fitness, and as I said, make it very personal. We do a lot with nutrition and help people with diets, which is what a lot of people struggle with these days.
Hey, I'm one of the new ones, Victoria with the Home and Suites in St. Jacobs, so we're an extended stay hotel. We help people find temporary housing in case they do run into any problems with their households, floods, fires, all that good stuff. We also run special events in the North Waterloo area in St. Jacobs. What makes me stand out is I definitely take one of those millennial approaches to things. Some people don't like it, but it's helped me work my way in the industry that I'm in.
Hi, I'm Mike Diamond. I'm with Appcast IT Services, and I think one of the things that makes me stand out, correct me if I'm wrong, that makes me stand out is my experience and stories working in the Middle East.
I'm Pia Weeks, and I'm an individual insurance broker or financial advisor, and what stands me up, I like to help people.
Excellent.
I am Lisa Braun. I own Social Art in Kitchener. I think what makes me stand out is that rather than just caring about everybody having a good painting at the end of the night, I care that they actually leave happier than they came in and more confident than they came in.
I'm Diane Crumpart, Sensitive Soul Coaching and Mentoring, and I offer healing training programs, workshops, meditation workshops, and I offer private sessions. And I think what makes me stand out is after having a session with me or a workshop or training, you always leave feeling relaxed and calm and better able to handle the stress in your life.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Dice, and I'm an independent insurance broker. I work not only on the life side, but I also work on group health benefits as well. What I think makes me a little bit different is that I like for my clients to understand exactly what we're doing. Let's face it, life insurance is pretty boring stuff to talk about, but it's also complicated at the same time. So if I can find a way to simplify it so that it makes sense, then you can make the decisions that's right for you and think.
Hi, I'm Paul Oak from the Biz Coach. I help businesses become profitable, scale, and solve their problems. Well, it makes me stand out. I have 35 years experience. I've started, built, and sold 5 companies, and I offer my clients a 300% return on their investment, which is quite different than the other businesses.
Hi, I'm Stacey Mitchell. I supervise KW Pure Compass, which is the employment support area of KW Rehabilitation. So we help people with developmental disabilities find employment, and we help educate employers around inclusive employment and releasing standards.
Good evening, I'm Sergey Pavlov from Vendors Land Brazil. I build websites with search engine optimization in mind.
Steve Bentley, Northern River Financial, certified financial planner, independent broker. What makes me stand out is somebody in this room gave me a hashtag Bentley and it doesn't go away. And butter tarts.
Excellent. All right, we will come to Mike shortly. Craig, we haven't heard from you.
Oh, you have a red shirt and raisin-free butter tarts.
See where this is
Actually, we
going.
had a training from Chef Day last month, didn't we?
We may have overindulged.
She was very good.
I saw all about this. It's a good thing I wasn't here last month, as always.
There you go. It's okay, my name was for you.
I don't want to tell anybody who I am, because if you want to find me, just go online and Google me. And if you can't find me, then I'm not doing things for trouble either.
Yeah, talking of search engine optimization, it turns out we have the last name Ockwell Jenner. That really helps. Who knew? All right, so let's. Oh, we got to do. Almost got away with this. Well, I'm Dave Ockwell Jenner. Okay, I'm Dave Ockwell Jenner. I have a small cybersecurity consulting business here in town called Prime Information Security. What makes me stand out is I have a cunning knack of being able to talk techie and English. So you can have a conversation with me about very technical things, but I promise I won't scare you and I'll use terms you understand. That is what makes me stand out. Okay, now we get to do this. We get the fun. Okay, your prize time. Ooh. Drum roll, anyone? That's all right.
So typically I'm not wearing a kitchen Rangers sweater when we're in business attire, but in honor of our voice of the Rangers here tonight, over here, and of course our Rangers, any Rangers fans here? Yeah, all right, everybody start the playoffs on Friday, so the Rangers. And the lucky winner is Surrey. Congratulations.
Oh, congrats, Surrey.
Now the most important task.
All right then. Well, let's get this show underway. We have a fantastic guest this evening. Quick show of hands. Is there anyone here that's never heard of mine? No, of course. So while I switch the cable over here, we'll have Mike come and take the reins. Would be so kind, Mike. Oh, I guess you have to do the whole logging in thing. I was thinking that as let's think happy thoughts. Let's try and guess Mike's passes. Okay, we'll leave it with you. Thank you, just like that. Just like that.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I love the energy in the room the minute I walked in, and I don't belong amongst any of you. It's just incredible what you bring to the table, not only here tonight, but in this community. It's fantastic to learn, put some faces to names, and to learn, Ian, all these years I've been calling you Ian Inglis. So now I'll remember Ian Inglis, and I might have to call you Pa from time to time. Not because of the age difference, because I think we're both the same vintage, but because of Little House on the Prairie. So that's what I'm going to remember. But right? Little House on. So now I'm showing my age as well. I will also beg forgiveness if I can, just off the top here. I am not very tech, so Gunther, I'm watching him whip through his presentation, and everything looks great, and everything swipes and slides the way it's supposed to. I've got my fingers crossed through all of this, because I am so fortunate to have reached a stage in my career where my job every day is literally to push a button that says on. And that is pretty much it. So the technology has kind of accelerated and sort of passed me by. I spend my days, 3 hours per day, talking just like this. So that part I'm comfortable with. I think I can handle. The technical part, I'm going to hope for the very best and beg your forgiveness along the way, should I do it. So, as our gracious hosts, Linda and Dave said, I do work in radio. I am the host of the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News. I call Kitchener Rangers games also on 570 News as the play-by-play voice. This is year number something. After starting back in, my first full-time job was 1996. I got a job at a little radio station up in British Columbia. I could stand here and spend the next 20 to 25 minutes telling you all about radio and how much I love going to work every day and feel like the luckiest person alive. Because truly, since I was 12 years old, that's all I can remember ever wanting to do. And in fact, I didn't actually pursue that initially. I pursued a university degree, went to teacher's college, and I was going to be just like that. And I actually started out in teaching when I realized maybe you can actually work. There are jobs in radio. Those voices I used to listen to on the other end of the speaker do have a job, there's a purpose there, etc. And I went back to school, pursued radio, and the rest, as they say, is history. I haven't worked a single day since. But what I thought I would talk to you a little bit more about tonight is the opportunity that being in radio has provided me. And it's a really special opportunity, made all the more special by people just like you, because I've had the opportunity to work with many of the faces in this room over my time in the industry. So my story kind of begins when I talk about the opportunity that radio has provided me with a little something, well, I shouldn't even call it a little something, but something called cystic fibrosis. Anybody in the room heard of cystic fibrosis? Oh, this is fantastic, because I can tell you this. Now, cystic fibrosis has been part of my life. I'll start right there. So I come from a family of 5, and 2 of my sisters were born with the genetic disease that is cystic fibrosis. It is, to this day, the most common fatal genetic disease affecting young Canadian children and then into adulthood. So my whole life was filled with this thing called cystic fibrosis, and I didn't really know much about it. I knew that my sisters were forced to take pills, as I call them officially under the CF lingo. These are enzymes. Today, the number of enzymes that a patient with cystic fibrosis must take on a daily basis has been drastically reduced. There might be 6 to 12 over the course of the day. When my sisters were battling cystic fibrosis, they were taking 30 or more of these enzymes with every meal. So 90 to 100 enzymes every single day. It goes to show you, my oldest sister was born in '69, not diagnosed until she was 5 years old. So in '74, because we didn't know a whole lot about cystic fibrosis back then. It wasn't something, like you had that show of hands, right? Which warms my heart that people know more about this. That was kind of part of my mission when I got involved. So 5 years later, she's finally diagnosed. My youngest sister, Sherry, born in 1975, so we already had one cystic fibrosis patient in the family. It was much easier to diagnose the second time around. You go back those 40 years now, like I said, upwards of 100 of these things each and every day was part of their life. The other thing that was part of their life, and I'm almost embarrassed to say, I never really thought much about it. It was just something that was always in our life. So twice a day, and I always use summer as the example, we'd be out, we'd be in the neighborhood, we'd be playing, we'd be riding our bikes, we'd be doing whatever we're doing over at the park, on the jungle gym, whatever it happens to be. And my sisters would have to disappear for about 40, 45 minutes, twice per day. One time it would interrupt, another time we could do maybe after dinner. But they would do what we always called their treatments. And this is what their treatments look like. A mask, just like this one, that is filled with different medicines that the girls would be able to breathe in. And then there was the percussion, and forgive me, I couldn't find one of the older ones. I even tried to Google image 1970s era equipment. But this is the idea. Now that you can do it by yourself, handheld. For my sisters, it was a much bigger machine that my parents, one of my parents, or sometimes as we got older, we as siblings would contribute to helping with the treatments. And it was percussion that would beat on the chest and on the shoulder blades on the back. All of this with the enzymes to help with digestion, and then the percussion and the mask to help with breathing. Because what cystic fibrosis does, it affects the lungs and the digestive system. The lungs eventually fill up with mucus, and that is when, not to put too fine a point on it, but the patient eventually drowns from the inside because you can no longer breathe. We have made tremendous progress in this disease in the time since my sisters were diagnosed and since they tragically passed about 25 years ago. My oldest sister, Luann, was 24 years of age when we lost her in June of 1993, and then September of 93 for Luann, June of 94 for Sherry. So just 9 months apart, and Sherry was just 18 years of age. Nowadays, the median age has passed 50, which is fantastic. There are lung transplants that can be done, a whole bunch of different things, and advances in the medicine to improve quality of life for somebody that's suffering from cystic fibrosis and extend that life, which has been absolutely critical. So how does all of this tie into radio? Well, as it turns out, people give me a microphone, I find that on button every day, and I can talk. So I can talk about this sort of thing, and it makes me comfortable talking in front of a crowd. So a little while after I had lost my sisters, and I think we all go through different ways of mourning and dealing with that sort of thing, but I felt it's time to get back involved with our local chapter of cystic fibrosis. So I simply came out and started volunteering as a master of ceremonies for any event that CF was hosting. It transformed itself into our annual walk, which is the last Sunday of every May, and it continues to this day. That happens across Canada. I would go out and MC that walk. I'd ask for some donations and some sponsorships from friends and family and coworkers, just like many of us have done when we're doing fundraising in our lives. And I got more and more involved that way, just kind of getting my feet back in the door and doing what I could do. I figured I don't have much to contribute, but I can contribute the ability to MC events, to promote events through my radio program, whatever the case may be. And then I was reading one summer, and forgive me, Ian especially, because as a Kitchener Rangers broadcaster and a good old Canadian kid, I love my hockey. But if you were to ask me on a July day while I'm sitting there with a wobbly pop and a hot dog what my favorite sport is, it just might be baseball. Fell in love with the game, loved spending time at the ballpark in the summer. So I wanted to read this story about Roberto Clemente. Played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We could argue that he was the greatest Latin American player to ever play the game. I could run down a bunch of stats. Bottom line is, Roberto Clemente was a hell of a baseball player. I was reading this biography about him because I wanted to learn more. And unbeknownst to me when I picked up the book, he was also a tremendous humanitarian. He would fly missions back to his native land to deliver supplies for villages that were impoverished, all kinds of things. And there was a quote in that story that really stood out to me. Roberto Clemente was quoted in this biography I read as saying, "A person who has the ability to help others and fails to do so has wasted their life." And it just hit home. And so at that point, I had begun to get back slowly into volunteering with cystic fibrosis, offering what I thought I could by helping speak in front of a crowd, promote events, etc. But that really resonated. I started thinking back to the challenges that my sisters had physically, particularly towards the end of their life, and I thought, well, I can do a little bit more because I can talk, but I'm also able-bodied. I can take deep breaths every single day because my lungs aren't full of mucus. And I started getting more and more involved. So what that led into was a little campaign that was honestly, and there's a reason I called this the accidental brand, because I didn't mean for any of it to really happen. But I'm going to try to play this video for you that will give you an idea.
Really watching the machine so you can keep that get right machine and years old when Sherry and Glenn passed. So I just started college. In fact, for if you were to read in a textbook what it was like as a patient reaches what we call final stages, the way I went through all of them. Her health had gradually deteriorated through her last year. It never even slowed her down. She'd be walking around the neighborhood. She loved to babysit kids in her neighborhood. She'd be up like the crack of dawn, pulling behind her on the cart or the oxygen machine so she could keep that with her because she needed it. I got her out in the middle of the night. My mom was with her. We had been in the hospital, and she knew, we all knew, that that's where we were headed with Glenn. So it didn't come as a surprise, but you remember that moment for sure. It was a lot different with Sherry. I remember it so vividly. She had gone in for a routine checkup, and the doctors found something they didn't really like in that checkup, and so she had to stay in the hospital. Got the call that Sherry's in the hospital, she'd be staying, she wants to see you. And so I just got in the car and came over to the hospital as quick as I could. I was right with Sherry when she passed. my sisters as I was getting back involved with volunteering. In their very short time, relatively speaking, 24 years to Luann, 18 years from Sherry, they accomplished so much. They touched so many lives while they were alive. The idea behind Farwell for Hire was so random, so accidental. I just wanted to find a way to fundraise without having to ask people for money, without just having to go with my hand out and say, will you please make a donation or will you please sponsor me? And so I thought, this might be a different way of going about it. I've walked dogs, I've barbecued, I've babysat, I've washed cars, I've washed dishes, whatever it is that needs to be done, I have done it. I think right now, at this point, we have more hope than we've ever had before when it comes to the fight against cystic fibrosis, which it still is. There is still no cure for the disease, but just this past year, the median age for somebody living with cystic fibrosis has gone into the 50s. So the progress has been incredible. The best research in the world is being done right here in Canada to control this disease. A cure is coming, and if we keep working with the effort we've been working over all of these years, we're going to get there.
I know it kind of sucks, right? And I don't mean to be a downer because I want you to understand the story. And one of the best things right off the bat is having a great friend like Andrew and his wife Teresa who helped me make that video. There have been so many positives that have come out since we started this campaign. And I'll go back to what I entitled this as the accidental brand. I think that when you're in my line of work, I'm almost like an entrepreneur. I have to continue to sell myself to my existing radio station that they'll keep me employed, and perhaps after that, to another radio station and so on. But more than anything, it's what my business and the company that I work for in radio has allowed me to do with this campaign, the people that I've been able to reach. And the response has been utterly overwhelming. So I wanted to share, again, to kind of bring this back around to so much of the good that has come. For example, Dairy Queen, the very first year, of Farwell for Hire was 2014. And I literally started it with a tweet. I remember being at the work function I was at. I had this idea that you heard about in the video that I can't keep going. Can you donate? Can you donate? I had to do different things. I had to accelerate my fundraising, and I had to get past my own distaste or dislike of just asking for money. And so I thought, well, this is what I'll do. I'll hire myself out for odd jobs and off we go. So I put together this tweet back when it was still only 140 characters. I used a hashtag, not Bentley, not butter tarts, but Farwell, the number 4 hire. And that was it. I sent out the tweet and the momentum started. Also in that first year, I reached out to some fine folks just like you, some small business owners from the community that I knew, because I wanted to make sure that I had jobs. So I said, on Saturdays, during the month of May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, so I was going to do the campaign for the entire 31 days of May. Could I work for you on Saturday? I'll do an 8-hour shift. You pay me what you pay any of your other employees, but you make that pay a donation to cystic fibrosis. Of course, so it's Rob Maxwell here at Dairy Queen, owns a couple of franchises. Rob Brady of Brady's Meats in Waterloo hired me. I learned a little bit of the butcher's trade that first year. And of course, to their credit, they both doubled my pay for the day and made a great contribution. But here's the thing, that was 2014. Fast forward to 2018, my 5th year of the campaign last year, and Rob Maxwell, for example, at Dairy Queen, is doing a month-long Blizzard special called the Farmello. This year is going to be called the Royal Farwell. So I encourage you, this May, if you happen to be at DQ on the Boardwalk or the DQ on King Street North, look for the Royal Farwell, buy it, and $1 from the sale of every single one goes to my fundraising campaign. Maybe Maybe you're like me. You enjoy the occasional bevy. I was just speaking to the guys at Block 3 this week, and again, this was an accident. I was a big fan. A buddy of mine, also a small business owner, did the designs for their brewery in St. Jacobs when they were starting up. And we were out for a motorcycle ride one day. He says, "You gotta see this place. I know you like beer. You gotta go." So I remember looking in the windows of this place, thinking it was so cool. They open up. I want to support a local small business. I go in. I love the beer. We get to know each other. Next thing you know, we start talking, and the Face for Radio IPA came out. Like I said, I was just talking to the guys this week, and the 4th annual release will be May the 5th of this year. And what they do is they donate $1 from every liter sold to my fundraising campaign. So it's just really helped accelerate things. Over the years of doing this, it's been incredible. I don't really have the words for it to express. Like I said, when I go back to the very first year in 2014, I'm asking friends who are business owners, hire me for Saturdays, because I work Monday to Friday. I have a real job, because I didn't think that I would get a whole lot of traction with this. But the momentum and what it gained through the time has been absolutely incredible. I wish I could have taken this shot from further back, because I really don't enjoy heights a whole lot. And this is a home in the Caroline and William area of Waterloo. Anyway, that's my dad's, I don't know how to put this thing. He's at the bottom holding it because I needed that safety net. And I know you're laughing at me over there, right? Get up that ladder. Right. This was one of my favorites back from the first year, simply because, I'm going to be honest with you, this job sucked. Who wants to go out with a power washer in a pool that was like, this was it? And I'm not kidding you, the entire pool looked like this, all the sides. I must have spent 3.5 hours in that ding-dang pool that day, blasting the sides off. But, you know what I got was a donation to my charity. I had the opportunity to do things. Again, I want to go back to what I said earlier. My job today consists of pushing the envelope, okay? I get to do really cool stuff, and people let me. This is the guy that does the tree removal. He said, "Yeah, can you use a chainsaw?" I said, "Hell yeah, I can use a chainsaw. Let's go." And we spent an afternoon together on his team. I don't think I've ever golfed with anybody here yet. Probably because if they ever have the opportunity, they need to fill out a foursome. I say no. I'm a whack curse golfer. I'm terrible at the game. I swing at the ball that goes where it's not supposed to. But if you want to make a donation to my favorite charity, I will absolutely carry your bags for you. Now, the first year that I ran the campaign, as the momentum built, and by the way, I should say, in the first year, this was strictly social media. It started with that tweet, and then Facebook. Now, I probably had a little bit of an inflated number of Facebook followers because of my job, but there was no radio support in that first year. It was strictly done through social media. And some way, somehow, as the month of May 2014 went on, it seemed to turn into a competition about who could get Farwell to do the silliest thing. But I was not saying no to anybody for anything. So, actually, this is my little niece here. Oh my. So anyway, but her dance class, her dance teacher says, "Come on out, clean the mirrors," which I have the cleaning supplies. And then the kids wanted to teach me some stuff, and they had the tutu ready for me, and that was that. I don't know how much you want to know about this particular. This is Bailey. I bathed him as well, and we're still speaking. Just so you know, we talk every once in a while. I don't want you to think this was like a flash in the pan. Well, not just that, but we still. I mean, it didn't work out, but I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my God.
Now, here's one of the other cool things. I've done this campaign now for 5 years. I'm getting set for year number 6 this May. And this campaign has given to me some of the most incredible stories. It gives me an opportunity to pay tribute to the memory of my sisters, first and foremost. And I've encountered so many people along the way that knew my sisters and they want to talk about my sisters. It really is. And then there are stories like this The young lady here in the foreground, her name is Alea, and her parents, Mike and Tanya. And I wanted to share this story with you because it's just such a feel-good story. I did not know Mike or Tanya or Alea at all. And this was year 3, I think, of the campaign. Not that it mattered, but I'm always reached over social media or by email or whatever. So here comes the email. My daughter is a huge fan of your radio show. We have a carpooling arrangement in our neighborhood to pick up the kids from school. We would love it if you would go and pick up our kids from school now when it's our turn in the carpool. Like, yes, that's something that Farwell for Hire can do. I would be happy to do. Okay, so we'll let you take one of our cars and go to pick up the kids so that when they come out of school, because they might not recognize you right away, but they'll know which car they're coming to. So you have your choice between our Lexus SUV or our Mustang 5-liter convertible. I went with the Mustang. Okay, we're not going to be home. That's why you have to do the carpool for us. So we're going to give you here's the key code to our garage lock. Just go in, punch in the code. The keys will be in the driver's seat for you. Hop in the car and go pick up our teenage daughter and her friends from school. Sure, okay, yeah, can do this. So what's a typical donation? What's that worth? And I've never once set a rate. It's whatever you want to donate. I've done some things for $20, but I wish I hadn't done for $20. I got 40 for the horse. But people tend to be incredibly generous. Either way, picture this. Somebody I have never met in my life, knows me a little bit, I guess, from the radio. Their daughter's a big fan. Come to our home, enter the key code to our garage, pick up an envelope of cash, take the keys to our convertible Mustang, and go pick up our daughter and her friends from school. I swear to you, as this day is long, I'm a guy that would do that. But it started to feel really funny. So I'm like, we're going over email. I remember it vividly. It was a Saturday night, and I sent an email. I said, can we talk? Here's my number. Give me a call. So Mike gives me a call, and I'm like, listen, I appreciate this, and I'm all in. Like, this is fine. But I said, like, you realize what you've just given a stranger here, right? Like key codes, car keys, whatever. I could be in Buffalo before you're home from work. And I'll never forget what Mike said. He said, Farwell, I think we know where to find you. But just to bring it full circle, these folks, this family, has become a great friend. I was at their cottage last summer, and we're strangers, and they entrusted their daughter and their expensive automobile and the key code to their garage to me as a complete stranger at the time. I think that's a real testament to the human spirit. This story, this one gets me a little bit, because there's Sherry, and standing beside Sherry is a fella named Jeff. And this picture was actually taken when they were at CF Clinic together. That would be, I don't know, early 90s, maybe. And I obtained this picture because Jeff is still alive. So they're the same age. But Sherry, tragically and unfortunately, passed. But I met Jeff in the campaign. I can't remember which year it was, but he reached out, told me his story. So here's now a cystic fibrosis survivor, born in 75, still going to this day, still playing hockey. And we met at a larger event. It was probably a room this size. He comes up, introduces himself. I knew your sister. Well, then I'm just a mess. But last year, Jeff came out and helped me on the campaign. We mowed lawns together. We weeded gardens together because he wanted to he made the financial donation, but he wanted to be a part of it. And he went to clinic with my sister. Those are just two of the absolutely incredible stories that have happened. So in my very first year of doing this campaign, the one that started out with the tweet, the year prior, I had done a skydiving stunt to raise my fundraising. And I think I got up to about $7 or $8 grand, somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000. I thought, okay, when I'm going to try this for hire thing, I'm going to try to make $10,000. And the month picked up momentum, and I thought, oh goodness, I'm gonna increase that goal to $12,500. And as you can see, in year one, we surpassed $20,000. 1 month of fundraising, weeding a whole lot of gardens and doing that unspeakable thing to a horse. And that was year one. So I thought, okay, if we can raise $20,000 in a month with a goal of 10 that we increased, we can do 20,000 again the next year. So I set the goal. Whoops, I went the wrong way. I'm sorry. Suspense builds. And the next year, on a goal of $20,000, stated from day one, we raised $28,000 and change. At this point, I realized that there's no turning back, right? You can't stop doing this. If you're making $20,000, almost $30,000 in a month, you gotta keep doing this because cystic fibrosis could really use the exposure and the money. So I thought, okay, year 3, yeah, we can make 28 and change, we can do 30. So I set a goal of 30, and we get up to $47,000. By this time, you're starting to see the Farmellos and the Face for Radio IPAs and some other big things coming along. People are getting involved in larger events, and the numbers just keep going up. And they, holy Hannah, $47,000 third year of this thing. So then I get really nervous. Okay, well, where are you going to go next, right? For year 40, if you can do 47, you sure as shoot can do 50 grand. And it's funny because coming into year 4 of the campaign, after I had done it a little while, I thought, I'm going to have to freshen this up. It's going to have to change. I'm going to have to try to do like a 30 and 30, $1,000 a day thing. Well, we're already passing that. So what are we going to do? We're going to try $50,000. We're going to think that's almost $2,000 a day. How are we going to manage that? And in year 4, with a goal of $50,000, we just absolutely blew it out of the park. So now, of course, again, I'm in the dilemma. I even had the debate, do you set a goal? Do you put a target out there for fear of not reaching it? I talked to friends, I talked to family, and they said, listen, if you put the target out there and people recognize that you're shooting for a big number, the generosity will be there. They'll know that, you know, if we donate $100, usually maybe we'll do 200 this time. And again, I'll say, sure as the day is long, my aunt, who hires me, my aunt, every year to clean the windows on her house. Give me $100. And when I set my goal for year number 5, after we made $88,000, I figured I got to set the goal at $100,000. That's what you saw in the video. It's got to be a $100,000 goal. And instead of $100 from my aunt that year, she gave me $125. And that helped me get up to last year's fundraising total of more than $135,000. I will confess to fudging May just a little bit. Sometimes I work as long as May 37th, I call it, into the month of June. But the response to this campaign has been beyond my wildest expectations. I never imagined it would ever reach the level that it has reached, but I have nobody to thank except everyone. This community has rallied around me, has rallied around this campaign, has rallied around cystic fibrosis and our belief that there will be a cure, because there will be. And I can tell you that the region of Waterloo raises more money for cystic fibrosis every single year except for one, and that's Toronto can't hold a candle to us. Montreal cannot hold a candle to us. They had a young girl in Saskatchewan 2 years ago when we were doing our campaign, and she was kicking some butt, which is great because it's all helping the same pot, but I'm competitive, right? They couldn't touch us. So Waterloo region is second. I'm coming after Vancouver. I'm going hard out. But we're about to start campaign number 6. I think $100,000 is a really nice goal to set. Some people are saying you got to go for 150 now because you raised 135. Either way, we're doing amazing things as a community for cystic fibrosis, and that's really what it's all about. That's what mattered to me more than anything. And I continue to be blown away, and I continue to insist that all of it, from my beginnings in radio when I was supposed to be a teacher, to a fundraising campaign that has raised more than $300,000 over 5 years. It's all been a complete and utter accident. So I don't know if that is worthwhile to anybody in the business world, but I can tell you that this community is a special place to be. I probably already know that, and I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this story with you. Thank you so much. I'll have to
Wow.
I know, it's incredible, right? No, it's not, I got nothing to do with this.
It's sad that it is such a cause now. Dave and I raised more donation today online to the foundation. I couldn't actually find the video. I was rushing, so
That's okay.
is that okay?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. As long as it's going to the right place, thank you.
Photo duty. Multi-purpose day. All right, big smiles. There we go. Fantastic.
Send that to me.
That's what you can do. You can charge us stuff, just take it. Line up there, people.
That's right.
I would say that I have never cried before. In the 16 years we've been doing this, we've had a lot of speakers, and I mean, they're like, you know, it's just like I don't know what to say. Do you know what to say?
Really?
Yeah, and the amount of work we're doing for the cause, and we've got a day job as well. It's,
I have a great system, or a great formula for this that helps me stay married, and that is that it's 1 month. 1/12 is like 8.5%. So I've still got 91.5% of the year. Don't worry, everything's, you know, it's 1 month.
So
I disappear for the entire month, and I come home late and dirty and cranky, but other than that.
But she knows what you've been up for.
She knows what I've been up for. It's all over Facebook, so it's
We all
fine.
know where to find you.
Can I share what she did say tonight?
Yeah.
She said,
Oh,
hey, I know that guy, Art, always inspiring.
So we all know where to find Mike, so I'm hoping we can all find a way to add, you know, unify more to your cause, because it's a fantastic cause. We can't thank you.
I can't thank everyone enough. I thought of that when I saw the first slide of the first year with 171 donors. We were 642, I think, last year, so 5 times almost the donors from year number 1. Well, 3 times, 4 times anyway. Quick math there. But it's just that's the momentum that it is gained. That's how you go from the 20 grand in the first year to 135.
Well, I got to know you through my daughter Melissa, who used to work at the museum, and she thinks the world of you. And I make you real lot and thought, she's not wrong, and you are pretty amazing. Thank you. Should we have another round?
Thank you.
It's general network. If you want to gather around Mike and come up with some ideas, that's great. We do have to leave that room by 9, otherwise they lock us in and we have to do some cleaning up.
Yes.
And we'll all head to the pub afterwards, don't we?
We will, that's what we have there.
Just wanted to ask one question, so it relates to work, because I know a lot of us are multitasking, we're trying to figure things out. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how are you able to balance the work schedule with all the fundraising?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I really should give sincere thanks to my employer. It's funny because when I started this, I was doing morning radio. That's when Stacy would know me best, which means I was getting up at 3:30 a.m. to do a show from 5 until 10. But then my company, I work for Rogers Radio, and by 10:05 I could be out the door and doing work, painting, whatever needed to be done. So they have been so incredibly supportive. Last year, because I have a different show now that runs 9 till noon, so by 12:05 I'm on my way out the door. But they gave me a couple of days off, said go do more work, go raise more money for your campaign. They let me talk about it as much as I want, which actually, it's one of the, again, kind of incidental secrets of the success, because, you know, when I'm off at Todd's place of business doing a job for my campaign, and he makes the donation, I'm like, well, you know, I was over at place X and Y yesterday, and they contributed this, so there's a little bit of a, but yeah, they give me carte blanche for the entire month of May. Tremendous promotional support, and the fact that, yeah, come in and do your show, and get the heck out of Dodge and go weed a garden or clean some eavesdrops.
Well,
I know the ladies in there can always use a nice, handsome-looking man. Maybe as an escort to an event or something.
Sure.
Time to stop thinking that.
Mike?
Yeah, that's not what I was asking about.
I'm your man.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Are there any encouraging or promising technologies or treatments that are sort of in the development stage?
or is it curiosity?
So let me tell you, I mentioned it in the video, that the very best research for this disease is happening right here in Canada. Most of it at Sick Kids, some of it at Master and Hamilton. But I get excited and emotional at the same time. So we've cured it in the lab. So now it's just a matter of taking that from the lab into humans, right? So we've done some trials in the lab, and we're not quite there, but there was just last summer, as we were wrapping up the campaign, a company called Vertex, which is one of the primary drug makers for patients with cystic fibrosis, have got something that's brand new and in early trials is the control that we've been looking for. In other words, if you have cystic fibrosis but you're on this medication, you will have a normal length of life. So again, it's very early stages, but my dream, I kid you not, my dream is to do this campaign one year just as a thank you. Like, because we're so close. I know that we're going to get there, and this community has been so supportive. I want to go out, I want to wash cars and mow lawns and do everything for free, just as a thank you. And I think we're going to get there. I really, really do.
I have a question. So, two sisters.
Yes.
But not you.
Right.
So, does it pick innocent? Is it just random?
It's, so both parents must be carriers of the defective gene. If both parents are carriers of the defective gene, then there's a 1 in 4 chance of a child in that family having cystic fibrosis. And wouldn't you know, we were 5 kids. The craziest part about it, my mother, bless her heart, insisted I want 5 kids by the time I'm 30. So my oldest brother's born, then my sister then came around with cystic fibrosis. Then came me, then came my sister Pam. So now she's got her 4 kids. She wants her 5th, but there's a chance, and sure enough, the 5th had cystic fibrosis as well. So I believe the number's just one out of every, just over 3,000 of the general population. But again, both parents must be carriers. If they are, then it's a 1 in 4 chance.
Well, thanks for educating us because I didn't know much about it. We are going to let you talk personally to everybody now because they're going to have to fill up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And just to finish off, please make the best use of the room. We have this space and the room next door. There's still some coffee if you need a little bit of, well, a little picking up, but there's nothing that's required. By all means, use the facility here till about 9 p.m. Now, as Linda maybe mentioned, and there is this terrible rumour I need to address that we're just a bunch of alcoholics with a networking problem. This has been said before. So we will be meeting at Averb at just shortly after 9. If anyone would like to come out and have a little social night with us, we're more than welcome. We'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for a wonderful evening and take care. Thank you.